Is there any declarations of interest? Nope. Any apologies?
Thank you, Convener. There's 3 apologies this morning. We've got apologies from Councillors Michael Coyle, Councillor Redding and Councillor Stubbs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that? No? Okay, agenda item 2 is the planning applications. We'll just go straight to them. First application, page 7014. And it's a change of use of agricultural outbuilding to form a microbrewery and shop in retrospect. Hayloft, Wood End Farm, Birkinshaw Road, Annet Hill, and the recommendation is grant.
Agreed.
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 Thank you. Pages 15 to 31. Closed development, Scotland Limited, and the erection of 2 industrial warehouses with car parking and distribution yard, land north of Belgown Street, west of Leggett Way, Bellshill Industrial Estate, Bellshill. Recommendation is grant. There was a request for a hearing for this one.
Chair, can I come in on that?
Yeah. Councillor.
Yes. Chair, I would like to propose refusal in this application. We have got 73 letters of objection. The noise levels will be unacceptable as it's close proximity to houses. There's also a report on the paper in page 22 to 29, and a review submitted on behalf of the objectors by Parker Jones Acoustics, and they have confirmed that their comments in the consultations in a memo that nothing has changed. So I'm proposing that a refusal on this one.
I would second that, Chair.
Second that. Okay, is there anyone otherwise minded? No. Right, the application is refused.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandy.
Page 32 to 39, Taylor Homes, Scotland, and it's 3 dwelling houses, the land at North and South Road, like Cleland. The recommendation is grant.
Agreed.
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 The next item, pages 40 to 55, is Euro Garages Limited, and its roadside services area comprising a petrol filling station, ancillary retail unit, drive-through class 3 units, HGV and car parking areas, associated facilities, landscape infrastructure works, and new junction access site at Hornshill Farm Road Steps. Now, the applicants asked for a continuation on this. They're going to revise the layout on it. Is that agreed? We continue to have a look at the revised layout. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Right, thank you very much. Agenda item 3 is the confirmation of a tree preservation order at the land surrounding Royards Nursing Home, Marble Street, Airdrie. And that's for noting. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agenda item 4 is Enforcement Charter Review 2022, pages 61 to 76. Lorna, are you speaking on this one?
Thanks, Convener. This is just a review of our enforcement charter. We're required under legislation to review the charter every 2 years. So every 2 years we take the chance to try and make the document a bit clearer to people who are having to use it, to explain the enforcement process and to explain how we prioritise what sort of the breaches we take action on. So it's just basically it's we just readjust the wording every time to try and make the document more user friendly. As I say, it's a requirement that we bring this to the committee and have it approved every 2 years.
Okay, is there any questions to Lord on that? Any points? No? Agree the report?
There's a question for Councillor Lennon.
Yeah, very much. Thanks very much, Chair.
Lorna, could you take that off again, that? Hold on a second, up. Right, that's better, right? Okay, sorry. What was the question?
Are you happy for me to come in, Chair? You okay with that?
Yes, I was just that I can now see everybody. Aye, in you come.
Right, so it's just a quick question for Lorna in relation to the charter. Lorna, how many enforcement officers do we have across the authority?
We currently don't have specific enforcement officers, and enforcement is a duty of all the development management officers. It's spread across the service. We are reviewing how we do enforcement, so there may be some changes in the near future around this, but the current situation is we don't have dedicated enforcement officers.
Supplementary, Chair.
Yep.
Supplementary, sorry.
Yes.
I think members of the planning committee will recall the last time I think I asked for enforcement figures and Lorna kindly provided me them. There's obviously now, if it's a case of we're looking for all officers to carry that responsibility, I'm just curious in how we're deciding to proceed with the charter then, if we've not got enough officers that can take proper enforcement action, especially when it comes to planning.
Lorna?
Well, it's not that we don't have enough, it's just that that's the way we've chosen to do it. At the moment, previously, we did have a dedicated team that dealt with enforcement, but we moved them to wider development management duties, partly for officer development, because they were planning officers and they were getting they needed to be able to develop in terms of their own career path, but also because it's good for all the officers to be aware of the enforcement process and enforcement procedures, because it enhances how they deal with planning applications. It makes them think more carefully about the matters that they take into consideration and about the conditions that they put on planning applications. So we thought that was a good way to go. As I say, we had a lot of complaints, though. Every council across Scotland had a lot of enforcement complaints during lockdown. I think by dint of lots of people being at home and having a wee look round about them to see what was happening in their area, going out for local walks and seeing that things were happening. And it was a period where lots of people were making changes to their homes and to their gardens. So there was a lot of activity, and enforcement complaints did escalate at that point in time. And we did have a bit of a backlog, but we've worked our way through that. But as I say, it's an ongoing process for us. We're always looking at how we can improve the service, and at the moment, enforcement is one of the areas that we're looking at and discussing. I'm speaking to Pam about possible changes that we might make in future. So, as I say, it's continually under review. The enforcement charter we have to have, and we have to have it updated every 2 years. It just sets out the process that we go through. If that process changes as a result of us making some internal changes or staff changes to how we deal with enforcement, then we would update the enforcement charter and bring it back to planning committee for approval.
I think it's important to say the law hasn't changed as well. There's no change in the law, it's just changing a process rather than, we can't go in and enforce something that's not there. Okay, any other questions?
Sorry.
There's somebody else. Sorry, who's one in? The two people speaking.
Well, I'm on the chat bar, so.
All right.
Yeah, Bob.
Right, are you calm?
Yeah, Lorna, just I know it's probably maybe not a silly question, but if you've not got any enforcement officers, how many officials have you got? Can you give us a total on that? And are they all doing the same job?
So you're asking for...
I've got a list of them here, and I'm just trying to count. We have 22 planning officers.
Do you feel that's sufficient? Do you feel that's sufficient?
Well, as I say, they're doing enforcement and development management. And as I say, we are looking to see if we can improve the process. So we are always trying to move on. Whether if we do need additional staff, then we would make a case for that and be able to sort of take that forward if we get agreement from the chief executive. But at the moment, I think we're doing all right, but we probably could do things more efficiently, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Happy with that, Chair.
Right, thanks, Paul. Did you want back in?
Hi, Chair, thanks very much. And if you indulge me again, look, listen, have to say this is no critique on officers, Chair. Having a number of planning applications come to my own area under the community growth structure, I've seen myself in relation to developers kind of stretching boundaries a wee bit. And the reality here is to make sure that the service and the team are fully staffed and equipped to deal with the challenges as we move on. It's certainly not a critique on officers at this precise moment in time, so it's just to highlight that point to Lorna and the staff.
Okay, points taken. Next item is a new procedure dealing with legacy planning applications, pages 77 to 80. Is that you again, Lorna?
It is. Thanks,
Right.
convener. As I'm saying previously, we're always looking at ways to try and improve how we're doing things in the planning service, and to try and do things more efficiently. We have to make an annual report, which is the planning performance framework, and that's the next item on the agenda. So as annually, we are reviewed by Scottish Government on our performance, and one of the things that they have picked up on are legacy applications. And legacy applications are any application that we still have in the system that's more than a year old. So we've been having a look at those legacy applications and how we should be trying to deal with them in a more efficient way. And this report refers mainly to the minded to grant applications. So the committee will be aware that we occasionally bring applications to them with a recommendation to grant, but subject to a legal agreement being entered into between the council and the applicant. And we also have that same situation with some of our delegated applications that are signed off by the officers. What this report is proposing is that we have a procedure for dealing with those legacy applications. And it's about trying to speed up how quickly we deal with the legal agreement process. So we're proposing that we issue minded to grant decisions with a note saying that we expect the legal agreement to be concluded within 6 months of the date of that decision being issued. And we have a model legal agreement that we are proposing to use. We're already using it, so to try and assist applicants with the process. And it's getting authority from the committee or agreement from the committee that if applicants don't conform to that we can withdraw or come back and refuse their applications. And some of our older applications we have some that are more than 10 years old, and we're proposing to withdraw those altogether, because they just clog up the system. There are certain, for various reasons, sometimes those legal agreements just aren't concluded by the applicants and they just sit there. We've got some applications that are a number of years old that sort of impact on our performance figures on an annual basis.
Okay, any questions to Lorna?
Councillor Anderson looking to come in, convener.
Lynn?
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to ask about paragraph 2.8. I'm just wondering why it's 10 years, you know, for them if they're lying dormant. It seems a long jump from the 3 years to 10 years. I would have thought it would be something in between, like 5. I'm just looking for an explanation for that. Thanks.
Lorna?
It's really to help us clear these really old ones that we have. We have some that are with companies that we no longer exist, and we have no way of contacting them. So we're happy to discuss to review the 3-year-old cases and to speak to the applicants about those. But the older ones, a lot of them, we just think we should just remove. There's not a lot of them. I mean, we're only talking about 14 cases in total here. So it was just to try and be fair about the process.
Thank you.
Right, Lynn. Any other questions?
I think Councillor McLaren's got his hand up, convener.
Right. John?
It's for a bit of clarification on this, Lorna. We've all got them in our areas. Developers that are land banking. Would that allow us to bring these developers in that have not put a spade in the ground yet and just keep renewing this and they have no intentions? All they're doing is holding communities back. Is this a way around of calling that back in again and refusing the application that they've already got?
if they already have a permission, then no, they can go through their process of renewing a permission if they have signed off their Section 75 agreement. So no, that wouldn't assist in this. I think there are other things going on in the background in terms of the planning legislation to look at ways of addressing that, not just planning legislation, but wider legislation. But no, this is purely about us trying to deal with the cases where we have amended to grant a decision.
That's right, Lorna. Thanks for that.
Okay. Any other questions, Mark? Anybody else? For some odd reason, they're not coming up on my screen.
No one else in the chat bar, convener.
Sorry?
No one else in the chat bar.
Thank you. Agreed report, colleagues. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the planning performance framework. Is it Pam?
Thanks, convener, and morning, everyone. Lorna obviously has already referred to the planning performance framework that we submit to the Scottish Government annually in terms of our performance against a number of indicators, and also it's an opportunity to highlight areas of good practice within the service, and also areas where we're looking to develop in terms of particular improvements, and Lorna's referred to a couple of those already. So this report is to update members or to provide feedback to members in terms of the response from the Scottish Government in relation to our 2020-21 planning performance framework, and that includes comparisons of our performance against previous years and also the Scottish average. So overall, as you can see in the report, we received 7 green markers, which was the same as the previous year, 3 amber and 3 red. In relation to the red markers, they were one because the local development plan is more than 5 years old, but again, members will be aware that progressed significantly last year through the inquiry and is hopefully very near to adoption, so that will address that. The legacy cases, Lorna's already covered that in the previous report, and hopefully the actions that have been approved today again will assist with that issue for future years. The third one was in relation to an increase in the timescale for determining local and householder applications, which fell below the Scottish average, although notably we are significantly faster than the average timescale in relation to the determination of major applications, which is positive. I suppose it's worth highlighting, and I don't think we probably need to state it, that 2020-21 was a particularly challenging year in terms of delivering the service and delivering all of the council's services, but including planning, particularly as we had issues, at least initially in the first lockdown, in terms of being able to access IT systems, and a number of staff initially weren't set up to work from home in terms of having the necessary equipment. It's also, I think, worth highlighting that that didn't just affect in terms of the planning staff, but also other the sort of consultees and other services and other agencies that have to respond to planning applications. So they were similarly impacted, and indeed some of them had to reprioritise their work in relation to dealing with COVID related priorities. So that did inevitably impact on timescales for response. Having said that, and as Lorna's already highlighted a number of areas, we're continuing to look at areas where we can improve the service and be more efficient in terms of the systems and processes. And some of those areas are set out in the report in section 2.14. And it's also, I suppose, I think worth highlighting and stressing that while the timescales are important and we're always seeking to determine applications as quickly as possible, it's also probably, well, it is more important, I think, that we get the right decisions and that we make sure that we've got all the necessary information that we need to make informed decisions. And that inevitably, particularly with some of the sites and the challenges that we face in North Lanarkshire in terms of development of certain sites, it's important that we get all of that information correct and that we're happy with that before moving to determination. So inevitably, sometimes that does mean that timescales can take a bit longer to get applications determined. We did also highlight, I think Lorna referred to, we are looking at resources within the team, and we have been able to get support for creating some additional posts within the service, additional planning officer posts, and we are in the process of recruiting to those posts at the moment. So we would hope that will address or help increase performance for future years and some of the other service issues that we've highlighted today. So hopefully members overall will agree that despite the challenges that the service faced in the last couple of years, the service has continued to perform strongly. There's a number of areas of good practice highlighted and commended but in the report. But at the same time, we are continuing to look at ways to continue to improve and develop the service as we go forward. And we're obviously always happy to take feedback and to review any areas where members feel they would like us to look at for the future. So I think, I suppose finally, convener, worth noting, it's not in the report, but the service did still manage to determine over 1,000 applications in 2021. So, still, despite all the challenges, a significant volume of applications that went through the system. So I would like to acknowledge the hard work that went into that from all of the staff involved. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions or points to Pam?
There's nothing in the chat there, convener.
We agree the report?
Agreed.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much for your attendance, and you can go get your shovels and go and clear the roads.
Well, thanks, Chair.